Today on Nursing Matters, the truth about nursing school debt. I'm Christina, and this is your daily dose. Let's get into it. Because I want to start with something that a lot of nurses feel, but don't always say out loud. Your student loan debt is not just a number. It's a decision driver. It influences where you work, what specialty you choose, whether you stay or leave, whether you take risks or play it safe. And for a lot of nurses, it always feels like it's always in the background, quiet but heavy. And here's the problem. Most nurses are carrying this debt without a real strategy, just stress, just assumptions, just hoping it somehow works out. So today, we're going to talk about what's actually true, what options you really have, and how to stop letting debt make your career decisions for you. So the data shows that BSN graduates carry an average of about $32,000 in student loan debt, and MSN graduates average closer to $47,000. And that's just the average. We all know plenty of nurses carrying significantly more than that. Now, here's the part that should get your attention. There are programs in place right now, not hypothetical, not future, that can eliminate remaining federal loan balances. One of the biggest is Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF. And yet, it is one of the most underutilized tools available to nurses. Not because it doesn't work, but because nurses don't know the details. They assume they don't qualify, or they've heard one bad story and wrote it off completely. And I'm going to be direct about this. That lack of understanding is costing nurses tens of thousands of dollars. Because while you're making payments, there could be a path where the balance is eventually forgiven. But if you don't know how the system works, you don't benefit from it. And this is where I have a strong reaction, because nurses are some of the hardest working professionals in the country. And yet when it comes to financial strategy, they're often left to figure it out on their own. No roadmap, no guidance, just debt and pressure. And that's not acceptable. Because the tools are there, they are just not being used intentionally. Really quick, if you're enjoying this, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you want more support beyond the podcast, go check out rnnet.org. That's rnnet.org. All right, back to it. So I've spent years watching nurses make career decisions, not based on alignment, but based on fear of their loans. I've seen nurses take travel contracts they didn't actually want, stay in toxic environments because they felt safer, avoid specialties they were passionate about because the starting pay was lower, and delay leadership moves because they were afraid of income fluctuation. And every time the underlying driver was the same. My debt won't allow it. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Student loan debt is real. It's not something to ignore, but it also should not be something that controls every decision you make. Because when debt becomes the primary driver, you end up building a career around avoidance instead of intention. And that's where long-term dissatisfaction starts. Now let's talk about what most people don't break down clearly. There are actual structured options available to nurses. Programs like Public Service Loan Forgiveness, repayment approaches like income-driven repayment plans, employer-based tuition reimbursement programs. These are not fringe strategies. These are established pathways, but they require something most people skip: intentional navigation. Because here's the reality. PSLF, for example, requires working for a qualifying nonprofit or government employer, making qualifying payments under the right repayment plan, and tracking those payments accurately over time. It's not automatic. And that's where people get frustrated. They either don't set it up correctly from the beginning, they don't verify their employer eligibility, or don't track their progress. And then years later, they realize they missed opportunities. But when it's done correctly, it works, and I've seen it work. I've seen nurses have significant balances forgiven. But they were the ones who understood the system, took the time to set it up, and stayed consistent with it. Now let's talk about something deeper, the emotional side of debt, because it's not just financial, it's psychological. Debt creates pressure. It creates hesitation. It makes you second guess decisions that might actually be right for you. And over time, that pressure can shrink your career options without you even realizing it. You think smaller, safer, more controlled. And while that might feel responsible in the moment, it can limit your long-term growth. That's why this matters so much. Because when you understand your options, debt stops being a source of fear and starts becoming something you manage strategically. And that shift changes everything. So here's the one thing I want you to do today, not next week and not when you have time, today. Go to the Federal Student Aid website, studentaid.gov, and look up the PSLF employer search tool. Type in your current employer's name and just see if they come up. That's it. We're not overcomplicating this. We're starting with awareness. Because if your employer qualifies, you may be eligible for loan forgiveness after 10 years of qualifying payments. And here's something most nurses don't realize. If you've already been working in a qualifying environment, you may have payments that count, even if you never tracked them properly. That's why this is so important to verify your employer, submit your employment certification, and check your qualifying payment count. Because there are nurses right now who have years of eligible payments sitting in their history, uncounted, and they don't even know it. So this one step it's not small. It's the entry point to understanding your entire financial trajectory. And once you see where you stand, you can make decisions from a place of clarity and not assumption. So if you take nothing else from today, take this. Your student loan debt is real, but it's not a life sentence. It is a system, and systems can be understood. They can be navigated, and they can be used to your advantage if you take the time to learn them. Don't let debt make your decisions for you. Build a strategy so you can make decisions based on where you actually want to go. This is Nursing Matters, and this is the conversation that gives you back control. If this helped you, please send it to another nurse who's carrying debt and doesn't know what to do with it, because this kind of information changes financial futures. It changes career futures. And that's your daily dose. I'm Christina. Keep showing up because nursing matters. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Nursing Matters Daily Dose. Are you interested in more career resources? Then hop on over to the RN Network at rnnet.org. Also, while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button and share this episode with one nurse who really needs to hear it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.